In the chaotic, revolutionary fervor of 1919, a vision was born that challenged every existing law of architecture and physics, the monument to the Third International, better known as Tatlin's Tower. Designed by the visionary artist Vladimir Tatlin, this colossal iron and glass spiral was intended to stand 400 meters tall, surpassing the Eiffel Tower in the heart of Petrograd, now St. Petersburg. It wasn't just a building, but a massive kinetic sculpture of the revolution. With its tilted double helix frame and rotating internal glass volumes, it was designed to be the physical embodiment of a new world order. Yet this grandeur exists only in blueprints and small-scale models. It remains one of the most famous vanished architectural dreams, a structure that was ultimately forbidden by the very reality it sought to transform.
What made Tatlin's Tower truly revolutionary was its movement. It was designed to house four massive geometric glass structures: a cube, a pyramid, a cylinder, and a hemisphere, each rotating at different speeds, once a year, once a month, once a day, and once an hour. This was kinetic architecture on a megalithic scale, intended to function as the nerve center for global communism. However, the tower was never built. The immense shortage of steel in post-revolutionary Russia, combined with the technical impossibility of the design at the time, led to its silent proscription. The Tower of Tatlin became a paper architecture icon, a haunting reminder of a future that was banned by the cold limitations of material scarcity and the shifting political tastes of the Soviet regime.
Welcome back to Vanished Grandeur, where we explore the masterpieces that were lost to history or never allowed to escape the drafting table. Today, we delve into the heart of constructivism, an avant-garde movement that rejected art for art's sake in favor of functional industrial design that served the people. Tatlin's Tower was the ultimate manifesto of this movement. It utilized raw materials like iron, steel, and glass to symbolize the transparency and strength of the new socialist state. The tower's diagonal lean, at 23.5 degrees, matching the Earth's axis, was a calculated architectural statement representing the dynamic forward motion of history, a bold departure from the static vertical monuments of the past. The tower was planned to be more than a monument. It was a functioning government hub. The base, the cube, was for legislative meetings, the pyramid for executive branches, the cylinder for information and propaganda bureaus, complete with a printing press and radio telegraph station, and the top hemisphere for radio equipment. It was an integrated architectural machine designed to broadcast the revolution's message to the stars. The complexity of this vision, however, placed it in direct conflict with the practical needs of a starving nation, making its realization a political and logistical impossibility that led to its inevitable status as a vanished grandeur. Tatlin's design relied on two massive iron spirals that supported the internal structures. This double helix architecture was intended to create a sense of organic growth and mathematical precision. By moving away from solid walls to an open lattice framework, Tatlin was dematerializing architecture, making it light, transparent, and modern. This transparency was an ideological requirement. The new government was supposed to be open to the gaze of the proletariat. The geometry itself was a weapon against the bourgeois ornamentation of the 19th century, a style that would soon be forbidden by the avant-garde. The 23.5-degree tilt of the tower was its most daring structural feature. It mirrored the angle of the Earth's axis, suggesting that the Third International was a cosmic, not just terrestrial, event. This astronomical architecture sought to align the revolutionary movement with the laws of the universe. However, this tilt created immense structural stress that engineers of the time struggled to calculate. The ambition to build a leaning skyscraper of that magnitude was a technological prescription in an era before advanced structural steel modeling, ensuring the tower remained a phantom on the skyline. The primary reason for the tower's failure was material.
Post-Civil War Russia faced a catastrophic shortage of steel and iron. To build the tower as designed would have required more steel than the entire country produced in a year. The state simply could not afford such architectural extravagance, while its people lacked basic infrastructure. The material reality of the 1920s imposed a hard ban on Tatlin's dream. Iron, which was meant to be the symbol of the new age, ironically became the very thing that prevented its birth. The proposal for rotating internal rooms was the peak of Tatlin's kinetic genius. Each volume was to be made of glass, allowing the inner workings of the state to be visible. The technical challenge of rotating thousands of tons of glass and steel with 1920s machinery was insurmountable. The mechanical failure of the rotating mechanisms in the small models hinted at the disaster that would have occurred on a full scale. This mechanical idealism was an architectural forbidden fruit, a concept so beautiful and theoretically sound that it was impossible to implement. The top of the tower was designed to be a giant projector and radio station. On cloudy nights, it was meant to project slogans and news directly onto the sky above Petrograd. This was the first concept for media architecture, where the building itself becomes a screen. It was designed to dominate not just the physical space, but the information space of the city. This aggressive use of architecture for propaganda was a hallmark of the era, but the technology to project images onto clouds at such a scale was another dream that outpaced the available hardware. Even though it was never built, the wooden model of the tower toured the Soviet Union and was exhibited in Paris in 1925. It became a global symbol of the new Russia. For architects worldwide, it represented the end of traditionalism. However, within the USSR, the tide was turning. The rise of Stalin meant a shift toward a more traditional, heavy monumentality, as seen in the Palace of the Soviets. The light, airy and abstract constructivism of Tatlin was soon branded as formalism and was effectively banned as an official style, making the tower an ideological exile in its own country. By the early 1930s, the political climate had completely soured on Tatlin's avant-garde vision. The state demanded architecture that the masses could easily understand: columns, statues, and grand marble halls. Tatlin's tower was deemed too Western, too elitist, and too abstract. This ideological prescription was more final than the steel shortage. It meant that the very memory of the tower was sidelined in favor of the neoclassical Stalinist wedding cakes. The tower's vanished grandeur became a symbol of a lost, more hopeful era of artistic freedom. The influence of Tatlin's tower on modern architecture is profound. Architects like Norman Foster and Richard Rogers, pioneers of the high-tech style, looked to Tatlin's latticework and industrial honesty as a primary source of inspiration. The Pompidou Center in Paris or the Gherkin in London share a spiritual DNA with the forbidden spiral of Petrograd. The tower proved that an unbuilt building can have more influence on history than 1,000 standing ones, existing as a blueprint of the future for generations to come. Since the 1960s, there has been a global movement to reconstruct Tatlin's models for museums. These painstaking recreations allow us to see the intended scale and the intricate work of the internal spirals. Each reconstruction is an act of architectural resurrection, a way to study the spatial logic of a structure that was denied a physical life. These models are the only tangible evidence we have of this vanished grandeur, serving as a bridge to the radical mind of Vladimir Tatlin. Tatlin's tower has become a staple of steampunk and dieselpunk aesthetics, often appearing in films, video games, and graphic novels as a symbol of an alternate history where the Soviet avant-garde succeeded. Its image is synonymous with a retro future that never arrived. This cultural endurance shows that while the building was forbidden in 1920, it has found a permanent home in the global imagination, proving that powerful architectural ideas are impossible to truly destroy. The tower is the quintessential example of paper architecture, Works that are designed with no intention or hope of being built, serving instead as theoretical manifestos. By being unbuilt, the tower remains perfect. It never had to face the indignity of rust, crumbling concrete, or poor maintenance. Its vanished grandeur is preserved in its purest, most idealistic form, forever young and forever revolutionary, free from the compromises of reality. Vladimir Tatlin himself spent the later years of his life designing a human-powered flying machine called the Tatlin, another project that combined engineering and poetry but never achieved its goal. His career was a series of magnificent, failed attempts to merge humanity with technology. The ban on his architectural style forced him into theater design and minor arts, a tragic waste of the mind that conceived the world's most daring structure. Tatlin's tower was a victim of its own brilliance and the harsh realities of its time. It was a structure that required a level of steel production, engineering precision, and political openness that did not exist in the 1920s. Its prescription was both material and ideological. As a result, the world lost what could have been the most significant architectural work of the 20th century, a moving, living monument to human aspiration. The lesson of the tower is that architecture is not just about buildings, it is about the possibility of form. The vanished grandeur of the spiral reminds us that the blueprints of today are the heritage of tomorrow, even if they never rise from the ground. It stands as a warning against the political banning of experimental thought, showing that when we stifle architectural innovation, we stifle our vision of the future. The phantom of the monument to the Third International still haunts the skyline of St. Petersburg. It remains a forbidden city of one building, a reminder of the brief moment when art and revolution spoke the same language. Its absence is a powerful architectural presence, teaching us that sometimes the most enduring structures are the ones that were never built at all. The Tower of Tatlin, the iron spiral that was too revolutionary for the world, remains a beacon for every architect who dreams of the impossible. If you were captivated by this story of paper architecture and the ban on the avant-garde, be sure to subscribe to Vanished Grandeur and share your thoughts. Should we try to build Tatlin's tower today with modern materials, or should it remain a dream? Our next episode travels to South America for a very different kind of loss, the lost cities of the Amazon, the forbidden truth of pre-Columbian urbanism. We will explore the massive, grid-like urban civilizations recently discovered beneath the rainforest and why their existence was forbidden by mainstream history for centuries. What other unbuildable dreams should we uncover? Let us know in the comments.